Yeah, this is a sign of things to come. We're in Bucklebury, not far from Newbury, and this is a small village with just a shop, a church and a pub. But it is a place that Kate Middleton calls home. And over the last few years, it has been getting used to this media interest. Reporters have been coming here to find out more about Kate Middleton, the Queen of the future. Now, behind me is the Middleton family home. It's just up a private drive, and we're told later that Mr. and Mrs. Middleton will come out here to make a statement about the royal engagement.
OK, Alison, Harper there, thank you very much indeed. The time now, it's 20 minutes past 1 o'clock, our top story this lunchtime. Clarence House has announced the engagement of Prince William and Kate Middleton. After nearly a decade of courtship, the royal wedding will happen in the spring or summer of 2011.
And coming up, the news of the royal engagement has reached Camp Bastion in Afghanistan. I'll be getting reaction from British troops.
And coming up in sport on the BBC News Channel, Terry's set for the treatment table. The Chelsea captain John Terry faces several months on the sidelines, suffering with a nerve problem in his right leg.
Now, in other news, around a dozen men, including some who were held at Guantanamo Bay, are to get millions of pounds in compensation from the government. They accuse the British security forces of colluding in their torture overseas. The announcement is due to be made this afternoon by the Justice Secretary, Ken Clarke, and it comes after weeks of negotiations between lawyers from both sides. Here's Andy Tighe.
Held captive in a network of secret jails, flown in chains around the world and imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay. These are some of the detainees who've alleged the British government was complicit in what happened to them during America's war on terror. Binyam Mohammed is a British resident who was released in 2009 after spending just under 7 years in custody following his arrest in Pakistan. He said the allegations against him, now dropped, that he was a would-be terrorist bomber, were based on torture and that Britain colluded.
The public needs to know how far the involvement of the UK government in my case is. There is information in there which I'm like 99% sure state that the US subcontracted the UK government to do its dirty work.
But today the government's expected to settle a High Court action brought by some of the detainees by paying out millions of pounds in compensation.
Faced with probably many more years of lengthy litigation, the prospect of settlement had some attraction to the claimants. That allowed them to at least close this chapter of their lives and move on.
In July, the security and intelligence services were ordered to disclose a vast amount of material that had so far been kept secret. The cost associated with this is understood to have prompted the Prime Minister to authorise negotiations for a deal. There are so many documents, perhaps up to 500,000 potentially linked to this case, that they've had to set up a special secure area here at MI5 headquarters, where dozens of lawyers and other officials have already begun the huge task of sifting through all these papers and vetting those due to be submitted to the courts.
I believe there is a bit of an admission of guilt about it, but the simple truth is the government had two difficult choices. One was paying out £5 million. I can't say I'm very happy about that as taxpayers' money. The other was to have trials that went on for years.
Detention at Guantanamo Bay was one of a number of extreme measures deployed against what Washington and London regarded as an extreme threat. Today's settlement may hasten the start of the judicial inquiry into the torture allegations, but still to be resolved is the issue of whether individual MI5 and MI6 officers will face prosecution. Andy Tighe, BBC News.
Well, let's return now to our main story this lunchtime and the engagement of Prince William and Kate Middleton. In a moment, we'll go back to our royal correspondent, June Kelly, who's at Buckingham Palace. But first, just 2 days ago, on Remembrance Sunday, Prince William was with British troops in Camp Bastion in Afghanistan. George Alagiah is there for us now. George.
Thank you. Yes, it was just a couple of days ago that Prince William made that surprise visit. It was a very sombre occasion, as you can imagine, but nonetheless it was a huge morale boost for the troops here. Now, one of the men who met him on that visit I have with me now. His name is Regimental Sergeant Major Matt Ellis of the 13th Air Assault Regiment. You met Prince William on that day. What's your reaction to this news today?
I think it's great news. I think it really is. I think he's settled well into his career. And yeah, probably about time he could get married. It's been long enough, I think.
You think he should have popped the question earlier?
Maybe not earlier, but yeah, I think about right now. Yeah.
And any messages? You're a married man yourself, I know. Any messages for the couple?
For the prince, yeah, definitely. I mean, any time he gets to spend it wisely, it's precious time, and probably keep your own bank account as well.
Now, the other day when he came here, he spent a lot of time with troops afterwards, talking to them. What was your impression then?
Oh, he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it topped off a really good day. He very relaxed. He came across to us and just chatted to us like anyone else would. It was really good.
Now, you're a regimental sergeant major. After this interview, you're going to go back to barracks and tell your mates what's happened, that you've been on TV, but also give them